How to raise the millennial child. Children being born today seem to be more powerful. They seem to come with more of a sense of purpose or who they are. We've always had strong children who are more difficult to handle, but it seems to me that there are more of them these days. Perhaps it is the media, perhaps it is they've been exposed to many different things and it's not just the family unit, but whatever the case may be, we have powerful personalities and they are a handful if you do not establish who the parent is when the child is very young. If you don't do that, you will have a serious problem on your hands. This is a guideline to help you raise the millennial child. First of all, they usually have a lot of innate confidence. And when they do, they need a lot of choices. They need to make choices. And so you establish a few rules as possible, but be very strict with the child in requiring obedience to them. So if you overrule them, so to speak, you can have problems. They need to have some freedom. They need to have some control over their lives. Give the child as many choices within your boundaries as possible, and then let him suffer the consequences of his choices with no coming to the rescue. For example, here are 5 outfits. You may choose one of them to wear today. They do not have to match. Only make rules that really count or that could be harmful. In other words, let them have as much freedom as possible. If the kids make fun of their choices, then that's a perfect opportunity to remind them that they made the choices and now that's what happens when you make choices. And so you are teaching him how to handle life. If you do not teach a child to be self-governing to a certain extent, they're first of all, they're not going to be happy, and second, they're going to rebel, and because that's the way it is these days. Okay, so another rule might be to speak respectfully to you and others in authority. Allow him to disagree and express how he feels, but he must do it respectfully. Absolutely. The next one, make consequences swift and sure. No negotiations, but make sure you're on your right ground on that, okay? And then make consequences clearly understood ahead of time and have the child repeat what will happen if they break that particular rule. Give the child chores to do that he does because you are working as a family unit, working together, and each person does their part. And a lot of times the parents kind of fall down on this and they think that they want to make things easier for their child, but you're actually hurting them a lot if you make things easy. So provide extra jobs so that the child can earn money, or which will be another way of giving him some control over his life. Require him to save some of it and then spend some of it. In other words, we all need balance in our lives. We need to have things that we can do in freedom, and we need to have responsibilities and accountability in other things. He needs as much control as possible. That is how the world works. If you really think about it, it's like so many times children think, wow, I'm going to be out on my own because I get to do everything I want with my money and so on. And if you teach them as a child at a young age that, wow, I would love to spend this money on a new car, but I can't because so and so, because of the bills and so on. They need to know that you cannot spend the money on anything you want. Now, this child is a master at manipulation at an early age. He might make you think he is afraid of the dark and pull all sorts of tricks to get your attention and to get you running around after him and getting drinks of water and doing this and doing that. Don't let him fool you. He is perfectly capable of going to bed by himself, or at least with a little story. For example, he also can do his chores, and if you tell him, he might tell you that he is too sick to do those chores. So immediately put him to bed without any TV or anything fun. No phone, no electronics. and then later try to do something fun with the rest of the family. And you just don't kowtow to what he's doing. See, the problem is these children must learn from consequences because they have no fear of authority. They are their own law. They are a law unto themselves until they come smack up against consequences while young enough to feel the impact and young enough to learn. Let them fall on their fanny as much as you possibly can without putting them in harm's way. A milder child simply needs a little talking to, and they're fine. But the millennial child, the powerful child, they only suffer from failure, from their consequences. My daughter was very intelligent and could be very manipulative. And so when she was young, she was to go clean her room. Now some children, they can't do that kind of a job, but the millennial child, or the child that's more powerful, they are perfectly capable in doing things on their own. Well, she tried to tell me that she couldn't clean her room by herself. And she cried, and she told me how horrible I was as a mother because she was making her clean a room when she was little and she couldn't do it. But you know what? I stuck to my guns. She went in there in 15 minutes, she had that room cleaned up. So when she finally saw that she actually had to do it, and I knew that she had the capabilities of it. Another child, I may not have done that, but I knew that she did have the capabilities to do that, and so she went right in there and cleaned her room finally. See, we want to teach these children to handle problems of all kinds, because that is life. Okay, now the next part here is never give direction to a child without following through. Your word must mean something or he will not respect you. So be careful what you tell him to do or not do. Avoid as many direct orders as possible so that when you do give an order, it means something. And give choices and some rewards. But sometimes we just need to teach them that it's a responsibility that they need to do. And there's a lot of things that we have to do in life where we do not get a reward. So there needs to be a balance there. Now, when a child goes to bed, we might do something like, I will read you a story if you go to bed right now, or if you don't, you'll just have to go to bed without the story, or some other consequence or some other reward. Now, sometimes children have the trait of competitive. Competitive means that they want to win, and so life is more of a game, and it really can be a good incentive to work with the child with competitive. So you can make a game of a reward, and since they love a challenge, you can reward them when they complete something. And also, if they are high forward ego balanced, then they will respond to them by having a title. You are my best helper, or you are my smart girl, or whatever. Make it a positive title. If you don't, this child will find their own title that might not be so good. They might be the bad child that they choose to be. So make sure that you give them something that appeals to their higher good, or their highest person. Okay, always use specific terms in instructions. Telling them to be good doesn't mean a thing. Stop. If you want them to do something like be quiet, then you just say, okay, stop talking right now and listen. Okay? Not, you're going to be good. I want you to be good today now while I go into this store. They don't know what that means, because good means whatever they want it to be anyway. So be very specific. And this applies really to all children. Okay, now, getting their input in setting up consequences or rules in family councils is very good, because sometimes children will be more strict on themselves than they are if you would hand out the consequences. So just say, now if you had a child, or what do you think we should do, or what should be the consequences, and so on. And again, try to make as many consequences possible positive. So, okay, you're going to have to do 10 push-ups, or something that is good for them. If they tell you that they hate you, just tell them they are free to hate you and like you or not, but they still have to do the job that you're trying to, because they will try to use that to make you think, oh my gosh, I'm hurting this person because I'm making them do this and they hate me now. And it's like, give it up, because they're going to use that, and just know that that's going to happen. There is more to learn about the millennial child, such as their abilities on a spiritual level and how their traits affect future career choices. But this is a good start. It is best to have your children's profiles done so that you can know their talents, gifts, and challenges, and how to help them direct their traits to the positive and find an outlet of expression for their traits. Traits cry out for expression, and so all people need positive outlets for their traits. Learning to do them when young will help them in all aspects of their lives, including how to handle other people, and also to contribute to their good health and well-being. There's many things that they can do, and these children, you really need to give them a lot to learn and to teach them, because they can, like a lot of children, you can teach how to cook and do all sorts of things that you may not think that child could do at that age. So give them the possibility of doing those things. And another thing that's really important when you have a strong-willed child is, let's say you want them to be careful in a situation like going up and down the stairs. And they almost will certainly strike out on their own if you tell them that you don't want them to play on the stairs. So what you can do is you can appeal to their abilities. You can say, will you help me down the stairs or up the stair? That way they can take your hand. You can get more out of them a lot of times if you actually appeal emotionally and ask them to help you, that you really need their help. And even though you're the one that's teaching them, they want to help. They want to feel grown up. They want to feel like they are a part of you and your family. I want to tell you one incident that happened when my children were growing up. The neighbor girl came over, wanted to play with the children, and I said, well, they have their chores to do, and then after that you can play with them. So she looked at me, she had the most forlorn look on her, and she was a child. She was an only child, not that that is the main factor, but she didn't have any responsibility at home, and just about everything given to her that she needed and more. And so when she looked at me, she just looked at me very wistfully, and she said, can't I do something? And I thought, oh my goodness, my children wanted to get out of a job, and she's wanting to get into a job. And that showed me just how important it is for children to feel like they are contributing, because doing things that are hard, contributing, being responsible, those are things that create self-esteem. It's not telling them how great they are and how wonderful they are and so on. And yes, we do need to praise at some point, but we also need to expect them to be responsible, because that really does build their self-esteem and self-respect. So thank you very much. I look forward to meeting with you again. Subscribe to my channel and do a like and watch some more of my videos. Thanks.